but I have.
Well, thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
We're ready when everybody is. We're going.
Okie dokie. Welcome everyone, and I'll call this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Grand Marais Public Library to order this Thursday, February 24th at 5:03 p.m. First thing is roll call and introduction of visitors. I'm Dave Mills, Cook County Commissioner and the current Board President. And we'll just go around here.
Okay, I'm Kevin Lavore, I'm the Vice President.
I'm Helen Muse, ALS representative.
I'm Sarah McManus, Library Board Member.
Hi, I'm Enel Limvier, Library Board Member.
I'm Sue McClone, Library Board Member.
I'm Jan Smith, President of the Library Friends.
The staff leader.
And I have Kristen Wazeski on the mic here, and I'm Amanda, I'm the Library Director.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. After that, we have our annual oath of office, which we all did, but Sarah wasn't here last week, so if you wanted to go ahead and do that, we'll be your witnesses.
Thank you. I do swear to uphold the Constitution of the United States and of this state, to discharge faithfully the duties of this office to the best of my judgment and ability, to represent the Grand Marais Public Library both to the people and to governing officials, to see that adequate funds are obtained for good library service, to promote the best possible use of all library resources in the area, to encourage cooperative activities between different types of libraries, and to extend library service to those not previously served.
Yay,
Thank you.
And that moves us on to our consent agenda. That includes our agenda for today, the minutes from last meeting, January's meeting, and the bills. Does anyone have any thing they want to change on the agenda itself, or any questions or corrections to the minutes or anything? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so move.
Thank you, Kevin. We have a motion. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Anna. Motion and support. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move on to our Library Friends Liaison report. And Jan Smith is with us, as she introduced herself as the Friends of the Library President.
Yes.
Hi, Jan.
Hi there. Well, Amanda's asked me several times to come and speak with you, give you an update, what we're doing and everything. If you don't know, I took over in fall of 2018 when the board at that time either resigned or did not re-up. Jack Miller, bless his heart, agreed to stay on with me for 6 months while I formed a new board. One by one, they came on, and as of next meeting, we will have 7 board members.
Wow.
Let's see, of course, 2020, we basically couldn't do anything. Thankfully, people were generous in their donations and memberships. We have been able to provide a $1,000 grant each year to the public library and the 4 schools. Last year, we had 2 pop-up book sales, one in July in the backyard of Joy and Company. We considered it a success. We had a smaller one at the Senior Center in September. Between the 2 sales, we brought in $1,800. So we thought we were doing rather good then. Other than that, there's been really nothing we could do. We did offer to fund Friday night movies if Amanda thought she could do them, and she chose to bypass this year, or this past winter. I think it was probably a good decision, but we were there if she had chose to go ahead. For this year, we already have lined up for the library's summer reading program, Pickup Truck Opera. It's a traveling troupe who come up in a pickup truck, and they will do about a 30-minute opera for the children, Erica's reading program. And we are going to also invite the summer program from the Y. And so we're kind of looking forward to that. I do understand that they are going to do one for the general public about the same time, second week of August. And they'll also do a showing in Hovland at the community center up there. So there'll be a chance for the general public to also attend. They will involve the children in the audience, in the performance. There'll be a question and answer period. They'll do a sing-along with the kids. So we're kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We're talking maybe a book sale. We have two other options out there for activities that we haven't really pulled together, so I really don't want to say anything. But we're plugging along. We're still out there active, and we have a solid core of about 5 volunteers who step in when we need someone. And that's about it.
Great. Well, A, thank you for stepping up.
Yeah.
And B, thank you for pulling it together after stepping up. And
Well, I've got a good board behind me. So
well, good deal.
one by one, they've kind of come on, either invitation of a friend or someone who just happened to hear about us. And like I said, next month, we have a new one coming on, and that'll give us 7. So
Yeah.
we feel comfortable with 7 right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, that seems strong.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions for Jan? Was that a hand? Or,
That was it.
oh. Applause. I should know this, but where are the books being stored these
We
days?
don't,
Oh,
that's why we have pop-up book sales.
yeah, okay.
What we did last year, and the senior center has been very accommodating. We used their building to collect the books. We sent out press releases of the type of books we were looking, the genre, and they have in back a garage. We could store the books for a couple days.
Okay,
So then we collected books 2 days during the week, had the sale on Saturday. We just happened to be lucky that one of the board members, Lynn Salisbury, was going to Minneapolis. And so she could take the leftover books. And she took them to Savers.
okay,
And so that's what we did both times, was
Okay.
use the senior center to collect books and then have the sale immediately.
yeah, wow.
So
That's an added
We-
challenge there.
we looked around for storage, both my board and the previous, and there just wasn't any place large enough to be able to store books, but also go through the books, sort them out, and then dispose of them. After the last large book sale at the community center, they filled a dumpster and a half with leftover books. The books are hard to get rid of right now. Nobody really wants them. So
Yeah,
it's kind of coordinating, you know, the collection and then
Yeah.
having a sale immediately afterwards.
that's the next level of
Mhm.
trickiness there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I'm pretty excited for the pickup opera. That sounds
We
very
are
interesting.
too. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. It's a small troupe of 7 people.
Huh.
They're supported by different grants and foundations. We will pay them a small stipend to come up and everything. But, yeah, we're kind of excited about that.
Yeah,
And,
fun.
you know, hopefully Erica and Amanda are.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, no doubt.
Super excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the themes, I don't know if it's the theme that we got, but one of them had to do with myths.
Oh,
In our community of kids just love them so much.
yeah.
Mhm.
Regardless, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so.
We need fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for funding the components of our wordplay cart.
Oh,
Yeah, so we're pulling that together
Mhm.
too.
Awesome. All right. Well, no other questions. Thank you for coming and presenting and keep us in the loop. And
I
just-
will. I'll
yeah.
try to put it on my calendar, maybe come in once a quarter and
Sure.
update you, let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
We always try to get PR out there with WTIP and stick up posters around town if we have something going on. Mhm.
Well, you're always welcome. So
I will.
thank you. Thank
Okay.
you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that moves us on to the Arrowhead Library System Liaison Report. Helen, hello.
Hello, and thank you very much for letting me have this time. I think that Amanda has sent out an email, and you have had these 2 forms. This looks very familiar. And unless you have a question about it, I don't think I'm going to go through this.
Okay.
It's very clear what the 2 bills are that are in the system, and I thought it was pretty interesting that for anybody that wants to follow the bill, it's quite easy. You can Google, this is what you Google, how to follow a bill, Minnesota legislature. And it follow, I mean, you just have like a menu to follow. And that was first read, the one that's actually the same, but they're going through both houses. It was read in March of 2021. So it's already in the works. And I printed out today so that Dave Mills is going to ask me what the formula is and how it gets changed, because he asked me that last year. So I knew that that would be needed, and I'd have to have notes for that. So
I've learned to go easy on the formulas lately. They can be just a mess. So
yeah, but I'm also going to leave this with Amanda, and because of course I'm not going to read these both pages, but I thought it was interesting how it. This was the shortest one. How it was presented so that it would be easy enough to get an idea of where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I did think in looking over these papers, when you were looking for what you wanted in your library director from the last meeting, what kinds of things you would be looking for, I thought you could get some hints from these, and of course putting it in your own language, that's an aside, but I did think that was valuable. Minnesota's public libraries are generally operated by cities or counties and are primarily funded through local property taxes. The 12 regional public library systems are joint powers agreements among cities and counties that cooperate to provide shared and reciprocal library services, broadening access to public library services and resources within each region and statewide. The regional library systems receive state funding through the K-12 education budget. The current regional library system basic aid formula allocates funding as follows. 57.5% of the funding is allocated along the regions based on population. 12.5% of the funding is allocated among the regions based on their geographical size. 5% of the money is allocated evenly to each regional system. 25% of the money is allocated across the regions based on tax base. The HF 1710 increases the appropriation for Minnesota's regional public libraries system by $2 million per year, lowers the aid distribution based on tax base by 10 percentage points, and increases the aid evenly allocated among each system by the same percentage. And they want to go from 5% to 15%. That would be the, everybody would get the same amount of, within those 12 districts. And that's what's at the bottom of that. Another is, point is they would adjust net tax capacity distribution, which decreases the proportion of regional public library system aid based upon the region's relative tax base. And they're going to reduce it, or wish to reduce it, from 25 to 15%. And then there is, putting it into effect means that you can't just say you're going to do it and then do it. You've got to wait until the funds come for you to do it. So there is a lag of a year. And then the population calculation, the movement is to clarify that the population used to compute the population aid is the most recent available population count. And this has not been changed for 12 years. So I think it's different. And then the appropriation increases the appropriation for Regional Library Basic System Support Program by $2 million per year over the base level of funding. So there is the division of the funds, and then they need to raise the total amount. So it's really recognizing that the libraries, if we do get them passed, it's an increase in the value of the libraries as an educational system. And one of the things that really I feel like stressing is that the desire to get library media people into the public schools so that not only do the children have a very capable librarian to help them with their work, but also that the teachers within the school who need library resources will have a professional librarian who has the skills to help them at that level. So it's almost like having a mini college instructor available. So that is an aspect that would be coming out of these funds. And of course, that also would need a description. And so it is not a, it's not just in the formula that I've talked about, but this is an additional issue that if you do go talk to one of your representatives, this would be a very important point. And I do hope to attend a legislative, one of the representatives or senators. The Arrowhead does do this as an all, Amanda will get an invitation to participate. All of the member libraries for the Arrowhead system will get an invitation. This is, what is it, Amanda, 27 or 26? I can't.
26 is a Sunday,
Okay.
I think, the Saturday.
And then all of the board members from the various counties, the ALS trustee members, they will get an invitation. And I'm going to take it up, and I did last year. I talked in a good Zoom meeting. It was a group to Rob Eklund, and he was a very charming man, I think, and to Tom Bach. Those were the two. But if you have access or happen to know anyone of the legislators. I was pleased to see that the person's name that is heading I guess I should have it on the list, the chief authors for the Senate 1131, they're complimentary, and then for House 1710, those people are getting more members from the committee. So this is on the email that you got, but Senator Mark Johnson is for Senate Bill 1131, and Don Wolgamat, and he is for the 1710. Do you have any questions? You're the people who can tell your representatives, what you want. I mean, this would be, and it would be great, we hear these stories after the fact about someone fishing up here, and someone gets their ear, and then you have lots of things that happen as a result of someone just knowing of your needs. And so sometimes the personal aspect of it is very good.
Do we know, so an increase of $2 million, awesome. Do we know how the formula change will affect us? Because we have a low population, but a high...
Geographical.
Well, we have a high, geographic area, but also a fairly high property value.
Well, they're moving away from they're trying to go straight 15% of the appropriations.
Yep,
They're trying to go straight to, everybody gets the same there.
yep,
And then the most recent population,
yep,
like that.
yep.
So,
There was a move away from the property value, right?
yes.
And I'm not against that, but I'm just curious how that will affect us.
I do know that all of the 12 member systems have agreed that no one will lose anything.
There we go, held harmless, I like it, yep.
I mean, that is the formula is for that intent, and that's why there has to be this $2 million in addition, so that will
That'll work,
be sure
yep.
everything works out and no one comes up short.
And I know our population has increased significantly in
Yeah.
Cook County, so that's going in our favor too. But
Right.
that's, my wheels are just spinning, like, how does this play out? And that's why I said I've learned to go easy on the formulas, because there's lots of different angles, lots of different variables, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting. And I will have an opportunity to speak with both Representative Eklund and Senator Bach next week, actually, so.
Great,
I'll,
great. Well, that's when I will be Zooming with someone, I don't know yet, because I will attend, it will be set up by ALS, and I'll just go to whichever meeting is more sensible for my time and schedule and what I can do to speak. The most important thing is to really present the value, what you see the value
Yeah.
of the library is, and the library services broadly. I mean, those are and everyone here is here because they do value those, and all the stories that you know about the kids playing on the snow pile right now. Those are personal stories that really do hone in.
Yeah.
And of course, the legislature is just like you are in that they have to use the taxpayer money as wisely as they can, so you know where they're coming from. So just as you are recognizing how fiscal responsibilities are setting at your door as well as a board.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Helen.
you.
Good luck with the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I think that If anybody's done a Zoom meeting, they will be able to understand how to do one. Is yours going to be Zoom or are you going to be in person?
It'll be in person, which will be interesting. They don't have large offices,
No.
and I'm curious just how that the form. I'm not entirely sure what the format's going to be like. So. I won't get into it. But
Thanks again.
yeah, thank you, Helen. All right, Mr. Shane Steele, we are next on the agenda with our air source heat pump presentation. Welcome. And we all at the beginning did introductions, so maybe we should do introductions again for your benefit and just, this is Shane Steele.
Hi, I'm Shane. I'm the sustainability coordinator for the city. And I would appreciate introductions because I was 5 minutes late.
Yeah, and you know Amanda and Kristen, and Sue, would you like to start?
Sue, board member, Sue McClone.
Hi.
Enno Limvier, board member.
Sarah McManus, board member.
Kevin Lavore.
And Dave Mills.
All right. Yeah. And again, I'm Shane. I don't have a presentation, anything more than
The memo.
what's in the memo. But I guess I'll start with why I'm here. And one of the strategies that we have for the city's sustainability initiatives are electrification of heat. And so air source heat pumps are the new technology. Well, they're not new, but there has been improvements to this technology that's been around for a while that makes them very good for a lot of buildings, that especially buildings that use propane. And so I was looking around at the city buildings and noticing that the library is quite efficient. And I guess I'm not quite going in the order of my memo, but I'll just jump down to the part about library or energy use in the library. So I've been tracking the energy use of all the city buildings, and the library is quite efficient, and compared to other buildings, other libraries in the state, and even other libraries in the same like climate zone across the whole U.S. We use a program called Portfolio Manager to track the energy use, and it compares the library to lots of different similar buildings, and we are right up there with the highest performing buildings. So the library is really efficient, which makes it a great candidate for a heat pump. So I thought I'd call a contractor, a company in Duluth called Jamar Company, and just ask if they would take a walk through the library and just let us know what they thought of this building and possibility of a heat pump. And actually what they did was they went into the little mechanical closet back there and they found all kinds of little things that they could work on before we could even start talking about a heat pump. So that's where this whole heating assessment comes from, which is kind of a completely different project, but has been happening. Did you give an update on that, or no? Should I give an update on that? Great. So, an aside, we did have a heating assessment done on the library, and there was a technician that came up from Jamar, and he spent a day going through the heating appliances of the library. It's quite complex. One of the things he did was just mapped out the whole building for us, because there wasn't really anyone on staff. Even Lenny didn't have all of the ins and outs of the heating system. So this technician mapped it out for us.
Awesome.
And his main conclusion, even though we haven't gotten the report yet, his main conclusion was there's nothing terribly wrong, and everything seems to be working quite well with the library's heat. There are some things he did. He did an emissions test on the boilers just to make sure that they're combusting okay. He also turned down one of the boilers to the proper temperature, and Other than that, there's not much that needs to change for the library's heating system to be working optimally. So that was good to hear, and we'll get more details from his report, as well as this master map of the heating system, because there's in-floor heat, there's baseboards, there's air conditioners, there's all kinds of stuff going on, and so, and then there's like what, 16 or 18 thermostats around the building. So yeah,
Wow.
and there's gradients of temperature depending on where you are in the building. So
Does it change with like every step you take?
does it change?
Practically. So this happened after the repair, right? Because
Right.
yeah, because there was some combustion issues going on there, right? It was like a dirty chamber, basically, I think. Or I don't. Yeah.
I guess I wasn't quite involved in
Yeah.
the repair of one of the boilers that wasn't working, but I think we had an initial walkthrough and Jamar found some issues. Then a boiler broke
Yeah.
and was fixed.
Yep.
And then we've
Yep.
had the heating assessment and still waiting on the report there.
And in the repair, and maybe this is too detailed technical, but in the repair, I thought there was also a temperature tweak there. So
That's true.
I hope we could get our contractor and Jamar on the same page. And I think with this mapping, it's going to make a huge difference with comprehension here. So
Yeah. With the repairs, they did service the boilers, which hadn't been done in a very long time, and he talked about the combustion component of them. I think it was like dirty and liquidy or something, like it needed to be really drained or clear. I don't know how it all works.
okay.
I have some pictures that look excitingly dirty. But there's also, our building has a very, some kind of a thermostat thing that sits on the outside of the building,
Uh-huh.
and it adjusts our temperature, but it was actually confusing the information that the internal systems were reporting.
Yeah.
So that was one thing that was affecting the heating efficiency, I think. Another thing that was happening was once that was disconnected, the boiler temperature was adjusted. It was adjusted too high, but it was adjusted significantly higher in order to be able to bring the in-floor heating up to temperature, which was what one of the initial things that the Jamar Company walkthrough team said, whoa, this is like not even hardly working at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, those outdoor temperature sensors, I think when it gets wicked cold, they just can't compute, does not compute, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So, well, that's really exciting.
Yeah. So, were there any other questions about kind of the heating assessment part of this? I wish I had the report with me, but I don't.
We'll get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
step by step.
Yeah.
Well, I think we as a board are pretty excited about the opportunity. When we were having boiler issues, it was kind of like, oh, emergency, maybe this isn't the best. We saw it both as a potential opportunity, to change, but then also as like, in emergency state, you don't necessarily want to do anything you just want to fix it.
Yeah.
So, but it's really exciting to hear just about the efficiency of the building and how we compare nationally and regionally and just in our city. I had another question, but if anyone else does, please, because I lost mine.
Well, I'd like to point out
Yeah.
two things from the graph that is in the memo. One of them is, and I wrote one of them here, is that it seems like our electrical use, which is the yellow bars, kind of just rolls along, but that the propane use really flows seasonally, which makes sense because we're using the propane to heat the building, and so we're not heating the building in the summertime. But it doesn't look like we're using a lot of air conditioning to cool the building in the summertime, because I don't think the electricity quite makes big differences month to month or throughout the year. The other thing I'd like to point out is that it looks like starting in about spring of 2020, our propane use goes way down, probably because of the pandemic.
Hmm.
So I don't have great data from like way before the pandemic because we just weren't benchmarking the building back then because I only started in 2020. So I'll be interested to see what the 2021 data looks like. And I haven't got that yet because we have a new city secretary and I did not want to make her life any more complicated than it is by asking for a year's worth of data for every city building.
Ready, go.
Yeah, so I wish I had 2021 data. I don't. And I'll be excited to see what it looks like when I do have it.
Oh, thanks for stalling. I remembered my question.
Great.
How, that wasn't stalling, but, why is it that a more energy efficient building is a better candidate for a heat pump?
Yeah. It's because you can maximize the efficiency gains of the heat pump.
Okay.
So we have the library, which has no real low-hanging fruit for efficiency. It's not like we can point to something and say, if we just fix this, the building envelope would be better, or if we added more insulation, the R value would be better. Those things are all working and doing well, and so now we can go for the big change, which is the heat pump, and we can reap all of those efficiency gains from the heat pump because the building is not wasting any energy.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So I could talk a little bit about heat pumps, at least as much as what I know, which is mostly included in the first part of the memo, in that heat pumps are basically just air conditioners that can work in reverse. They can heat and cool, and they've gotten much more efficient. And cold climate air source heat pumps can work down to minus 15 Fahrenheit or even colder.
Wow.
But they're most efficient down to about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's an old technology that has some stigma, but it's become a lot better of a technology in recent years, and a lot of utilities are pushing it, and a lot of electricity providers are pushing it because they are so efficient.
Are there any other heat pumps being used in the county?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can't think of any great examples off the top of my head.
I can't think of a good commercial example, but certainly residentially,
Okay.
we're seeing them go in a lot more
Okay.
because of the efficiency and, yeah, the good value of electricity.
Yep. Cool.
I think that maybe Fisherman's Daughter put one in.
Oh,
That's the one I can think of. It's a
excellent.
commercial one, but that's not at all like the library. That building is completely different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not quite an apples to apples comparison. But what I learned from Jamar when they gave us a little bit of an estimate on this project is that what would happen is they would just rip out all the old air conditioners, which are not supported anymore anyway, because they have a refrigerant that is no longer being used in the industry. So as soon as those break or need maintenance, we'll need to replace them anyway, but the heat pumps would just replace those, and they would look almost identical to them.
Mhm. Is this the sort of thing that makes sense to do sooner because of the efficiency rather than later? The sooner we do it, the faster our return is going to be, and or is it the sort of thing where we want to wait until a certain air conditioner breaks down or something like that?
I think that is up to you.
Okay.
I don't think there's a reason. It's not like we need to do this right this second.
Right.
Because there's some rebate that's going to disappear or anything.
Sure. Okay.
I'm just bringing it to you because it's an opportunity right now.
Yep.
And it will continue to be an opportunity.
Yep. I'm just wondering, about return on investment sort of thing. It's the sooner we do it, the sooner we'll have savings is kind of what I was assuming. But if something's not broke, don't fix it also. So that's what I'm just trying to weigh those,
Yeah.
philosophies which aren't necessarily, opposite, but
Yeah.
it's a decision we'll have to make, and maybe we'll just get more, I mean,
I can go through the bit of cost breakdown
Yeah,
at the end. So they are more expensive than an air conditioner. I mean, you will have to replace those air conditioners eventually, and to go with a heat pump, it will be more expensive. But the heat pump is more efficient, even just if we just used it as an air conditioner, it's more efficient. However, as we know, we don't use the air conditioners a whole lot in the library because it's Grand Marais, and we have 9 of them in there.
I was gonna ask that too. Yeah.
That go to 3 different condensing units outside. So there's like 3 air condensing units outside that each feed 9 wall mounts in the building. And but with the heat pump, we can use it in the winter, and it's estimated, just a rough estimate from Jamar is we would save 40% of our propane use every year, which is what I tried to indicate that with the annual energy savings in the heating season only. You can't heat with an air conditioner, but you can with a heat pump, and that would save us about $1,200 a year in propane. But what's not factored in, and what I don't quite know yet, is how energy intensive the heat pump is electrically when it's in heating mode. They are efficient, but I don't have like a kilowatt on one that I can say, oh, here's how much energy it will use. We can get that information though in a more detailed estimate from Jamar if we want to go that route.
I think that's an important data point to know about, to give the whole picture.
And I just wanted, with the very last thing on there, that funky graph of heating and cooling days. That just kind of shows, for the library, the last couple of years, we're using the heat a lot more than we're cooling. It's just the way it is up here. And no, and I didn't need to include that. I just thought it was a cool graph. You all know that.
I do know, Shane, you might be interested in knowing that in 2000, with the pandemic, one of the CDC recommendations was to limit blowing air, which our air conditioning units do. So our staff was proactive and intentional about not using them as often since the pandemic.
Interesting.
On the last, the heating days and cooling days, what's, is there significance to where the lines, the colors, is that like the average of the kilobtus per square foot or something, or like why is there the gray line, the shaded, and then the taupe shading?
Yeah. So it's talking about heating degree days and cooling degree days, and so it's looking at how much, like how cold or how hot it was, and how much energy was required to condition the building for that day. And so the more heating degrees we had, the more energy it took to heat the building. So that means it was colder. It's a bit of a complicated graph, but I just wanted to use it to display how much we heat versus cool.
It illustrates that very well.
But I think what it's showing is that there's a lot of days that it's really cold, and there's a lot of days that it's just kind of cold, and there's only a few days where it got hot enough to maybe use an air conditioner.
Huh.
If I'm reading this right, with that cooling and heating seasons annually, we'd be saving about $2,500 a year annually for each heating unit. So that means it would take 3 years to pay off each heating unit.
Well, Not quite, because that annual operating cost of saving during the cooling season is if we are really using the air conditioners a lot. And it's not quite factored in for how little we actually use the air conditioners up here. This was just an estimate that came from
Okay.
Jamar.
All right.
So we have to kind of take that operating cost one line with a grain of salt. And then we also have to take the next one with a grain of salt too, because we will be using electricity. We'll be saving propane, but we'll be using electricity. So it should balance out in our favor in that it will save us energy in the long run.
Very cool.
These were just the numbers I had at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can, I trust you'll do a little deeper dive as the report comes out, and, we can get more details there, so. Well, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Does SIMPA or the city offer any rebates on these?
SIMPA does offer rebates on the heat pumps.
Do they need to be on a heating program or just straight up rebate?
I think it's just a straight up rebate. Yeah. I can't remember what it is. I won't even say anything because I can't.
Depends on the size of the unit, I'll bet.
But I can look for more information if you're interested.
I think we're all pretty interested.
I-
So, it's just, there's the number side of things, which is really
Yep.
important, and then there's also the value side of things, just moving away from the fossil fuels, and so we factor that in as well. But I think there's pretty strong interest by the board.
And I didn't mention that aspect of it too. It's, the library is this place of learning and this place of community, and so it would be pretty symbolic for the library to be our flagship heat pump building for the city because it's so visible.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty cool, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're with you. Awesome. Okay.
Any questions about heat pumps or anything that I wrote?
Well, here's one more question. Do we have local technicians?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And that's one of the barriers to heat pumps that we're finding. A lot of folks are calling up asking about these, and we're not able to say, call this person. And I wish there was that person, because that would be a full-time job right now, just putting in heat pumps in Cook County.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It would be electrician. I'm assuming that would be a
HVAC.
basic electrician plus the training.
I think an HVAC person would be who needs to
HVAC.
do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So a heating specialist with that background, and yeah.
Okay.
I wonder if higher ed, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk with them, but if they could do some kind of promotional program for that kind of training or something. They have kind of
Yeah.
they've been involved with some of the green
Yeah.
energy stuff for contractors, so.
And that, just getting a local heat pump contractor is like a whole project on my list. Just like
oh,
this,
really?
a heat pump for the library is a project on my list. Like
Yeah.
finding local contractors or just incentivizing a way to get local contractors is something that we want to do so that we can have this available to anyone who wants it. Because especially for propane users, the heat pump is so efficient and saves you a lot of money on your natural gas. Isn't quite as expensive as propane, so
Sure.
it doesn't quite pan out as well, but for propane it's very good.
And it can be parallel, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that's one of the things too. We've got a great heating system already in the library, so it would function as the backup, and it works great, so you wouldn't have any problems with when it's minus 15 below out there and need to use the propane.
Well, what are our next steps? Waiting for the report and just kind of going through some numbers?
Yep, the next steps will be getting the heating assessment back from Jamar, and then I will be in touch with the project manager at Jamar and say we're interested in a little more of a deep dive. He just gave us kind of the rough numbers.
Mm-hmm.
we'll go in, send him some of our building use, energy use data and plans of the building, and they'll tell us a lot more detail, and maybe even get towards the side of a proposal for here's what the project would look like, rather than just here's an estimate on what it would be. And they suggest replacing all 9, because if you're gonna replace one, you might as well just go ahead and replace 9. I guess one question I have is, do we still need 9? Could we do 7? Could we do 6? So just trying to figure out what's the optimal here for, we have this great heating system already, but we just want to bring in this heat pump to supplement it and to save some energy. And do we need 9, you know? I don't know if the library ever needed 9 air conditioners, but.
It's fun turning them on one at a time.
Is it a different remote for each one?
It's one remote,
It's
but
one
remote,
you gotta
okay.
walk around.
It's like the Dumbledore, right?
Yeah.
Just can't sit on a sin and spin and go.
And when they were just doing the walkthrough, they were mentioning, you know, maybe where they would go is on the back wall behind the main cases back there, almost by the mechanical room, but they
Eastern wall?
Yeah, it'd be the eastern wall. They'd put 3 heat pumps back there, but then again, we would have 6 more to put in. So there's a lot of questions we need to answer.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else for Shane?
Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah,
Thanks for listening.
both for here and citywide, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, that moves us on to the library director's report. Amanda.
Yoo-hoo! I'll move, we'll turn off 6 and I'll read. Thank you. So everybody take a look at this guy behind us with the yellow jacket, because he helped me get the hydration station installed.
Jamar did most of it.
Well, thank you for that too then.
Yeah.
Jamar was installing the unit, and rather than having them make 2 trips, he tracked down a local electrician. John Warheide showed up on the spot, put the electricity in, and got the whole project done in 4 hours. It was amazing. So the hydration station, I had asked not to exceed $3,500, and the project came in at $2,460.60. I saved $1,200 on the unit by shopping around and negotiating prices. And then we did use Jamar as the plumber, so it kind of balances a little bit by using someone who's further away to install it. But there it is. It's exciting. Refrigerated water, if anybody wants it, hands-free.
Nice.
And I'm really happy to cross that off of our 2021 action plan.
Yeah. It feels like it had been longer than, I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe just time is whatever. Yeah.
Time is a thing right now. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we got the right guy, because he said, when COVID-19 happened, all the schools upgraded their machines. And so he's quite good at installing them now.
Cool.
This was just a fun or interesting or thing that's going on at the library. I don't know if it's fun, but our propane tank was completely buried in snow. I don't remember this ever happening in the past 5 years, and it's since been recovered twice. So I have to go dig it out again. I'm just entertained by the by the strangeness of living in Wintertown. We had a couple of little, if you look at the ceiling above you, you see there's pieces going left and right or what have you, and we have a suspended ceiling in the library that has dropped across a couple of its cross pieces. So I don't know if we need to go through and manually wiggle each one and glue them all in, but certainly the second one falling was sort of a nudge to figure out a plan.
There's no children up there.
No, there's no children up there, but there could be some under there.
Yeah.
So,
Huh. Strange.
Yeah. I figure it feels like it's on par for what, what's happening in the library right now with just the masonry and the front door not closing properly and the, all the pieces. It feels like it's right on time. That timing thing again. Programs, we're doing a lot of exciting things with other nonprofit organizations and community organizations. We are, of course, passing out Arrowhead Library System Take and Make kits. We got rid of a ton of our Create a Comic kits and had an extra, I don't know, I'd say we did about 43 different kits that went out in the community. We got these collage kits came in. We immediately distributed 30 of those and got a whole nother kit in the mail from Arrowhead and another library that passed their extras to us. And then we're about to circulate something that has me like wanting to be first in line, but they are acrylic kits for acrylic painting, and you get like a large flat canvas and a large stretched canvas and
Wow.
like 16 tubes of acrylic paint. I'm so excited about it. It's a serious kit. We're also partnered with the Art Colony, who's celebrating their 75th anniversary, yay them. And they're doing a community zine project. A zine is basically a personally made, small batch, published personal book. It's a small book. And so what they're asking is for everybody in the community to make their own zine. They have a St. Paul printmaker who has designed the instruction booklet and the template that you can use to draw your pages, and then you can return those at the library or to the Art Colony, and they're going to have an exhibition and a I'm not sure how else they're going to be wrapping up their 75th anniversary, but a celebration in essence. We're also working with Cook County Public Health and Human Services to distribute the N99 respirator masks. They are giving us kits that have like 5 masks in a kit, plus instructions how to use KN95, N95, and N99 face coverings. And they also were giving out the paper bags so that you can air them out and circulate your face coverings and extend their use and all of that. And we just started passing out the test kits. So it's really nice to be able to offer them. I don't know how quickly we're going through the test kits, but the respirator bags are going out in the community fast and furious. They started bringing us double the order. And we finished inventory, which is huge. That's always an exciting one. We had very few items in the collection that were missing this year. Maybe it may align with having fewer people visiting since the pandemic has happened.
They were probably all at my house.
That would be okay. And the collection was fairly well in order too, so that was great. Any questions for me? The Shane mentioned, we just started hearing back from Jamar about the retro commissioning, which was like, hey, they're coming, they're here, they're done. I think they're coming in around the $2,500 range as well. They had projected $1,500, came at $2,500. And you'll see that in the next bill set.
Well, I think that mapping is just so valuable to help us understand the system. We have to have that for anything down the road, whichever way we go. If we do nothing, we'll have it in case there's a repair. If we want to do efficiency upgrades, we'll have it. So
Yeah, that's huge.
All right. I'm happy to hear about the awkward conversations training too. I'm sure that comes up fairly often. Maybe not. I don't know. My experience in customer service is that it can get pretty tense on a fairly regular basis. So
I appreciate, so the customer service, just to recap for anyone who's listening, It's a customer service training called Awkward Conversations, and it helps staff build confidence engaging patrons when we need to ask them for their behavior to change, whatever that equals. And I feel it's important to bring trainings like this to our staff in the library in particular, not just because we're working with the public, but we tend to be mousy anyway. You know, a little more reserved, a little less prone to just like throwing our stuff out there and letting people know how we feel. So having a nice protocol in place is, I think, helpful.
Well, and, you know, if there are situations, you know, that escalate or whatever, I think it's also valuable to have some kind of debrief. And just like a resource to be able to process that too, because confrontations do have impacts on us personally, and just something to think about maybe. I don't know what we can offer there or what the city offers, but
I'm a huge fan of the pre-brief, the debrief.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a lot of, we talk a lot.
yeah, very good. All right.
Okay.
And then an action plan next board meeting?
I'm aiming to, yeah, and
Okay.
definitely kind of our new business conversation may weigh into what I bring forward with that as well.
Very good. And that brings us down to communications. We've got the fund statement and then that memo that we've talked with Shane about. Any questions, comments there? Moving on then to unfinished business, blank. And then the new business, strategic planning, how to proceed as the plan expires. And, you know, per our last meeting's conversation, I felt like we were still taking things pretty easy. But, you know, I think it's probably worthwhile to look at it. And we don't have to make any major changes, but I think it's good for us just to be aware of it. And if people do want to add things or change things, one of the items that I wanted to spend a little more time talking about, we don't have to do at this meeting, was just mental health, both staff and community-wide as well. I thought if we could help educate about that and destigmatize, I think it would be a wonderful thing. What are other people's thoughts?
What year was the strategic plan supposed to take us through?
2022.
22. Okay.
It's a five-year
plan.
interval,
Um,
generally, or at least the last one was, right?
The last one was 5 years.
And we can do it shorter. We could do it the 5-year. We can hire a consultant. We can do it just in-house. It's just however we want to proceed. And we don't, again, have to decide tonight, but it's something we should, I think, make some progress on, or make some decisions on, or keep talking about.
When I was thinking about strategic planning and how to proceed, one of the things I thought would be important is to determine the scope of what we want to do in terms of the years. So is this a good time to anchor the library to a 5-year plan? I don't really feel that it is. Is this a good time to have no plan? I don't really feel that it is. And so if we could determine maybe how big feels right, a 3-year plan at this point in the pandemic feels comfortable to me. It's like in 3 years, what do we want to really focus on? Where can we really help the most? Because I feel like the options for strategic planning is that we can just keep delaying. We can just not really make a formal decision and keep the plan we have and just kind of keep going and see how it see how everything turns out, but that's not really planning.
Right.
We can readopt and or adapt the current plan, which might be a good fit, or we can just plan and do a whole process. But then, like, what are we hoping the outcome would be? I really loved David's comment about mental health and destigmatizing mental health right now. I think that there is so much turbulence in the world that we're seeing a need from so many different people in so many different ways to just process what life is right now. So I'm not sure if I don't know if this is I don't want to insult it. I don't know if this is a banner for you, like you just really want to like focus on mental health in general, or if you're also noticing the need, like the Cook County community need locally here. But I've been talking to a few other organizations about trauma-informed care, trauma-informed service, customer service. This is a phrase that they use a lot in medical environments, but it's starting to move into any hospitality environment. I'd love to pursue that.
And in the schools as well.
That's great. I think it's going to be a part of culture as we move forward. I think this is going to be huge and everywhere.
Well, yeah, I think like one of the definitions of trauma is just like a negative experience that is out of our control. And we all experience that, you know. Every single one of us through COVID. I mean, let alone anything else, you know, but just that blanket is trauma. And it's just like, okay, well, different people respond to that in different ways, and it's best if we can be sensitive to it and respond.
Yeah, and just not knowing, not being able to process what you've observed, what you've encountered, not being able to process the experience you've had as part of trauma too. And there's just so much I can't process so much of what's happening. So I'm feeling the importance of the topic that you're raising. I think diversity remains an important issue across the country. I think that the library has done a tremendous good in focusing on early literacy and trying to support children and their love of literature in our community. We've only seen public interest in that grow. Like it's kind of, Steve used to say this about adult programs, like whatever you throw at them, they will take. There's an appetite and a need. I think library staff are always invested in trying to create a comfortable and welcoming environment. And I think that intention is carried out when we're talking about diversity and being welcoming to everyone, too. So I'm just going to throw out, like, where I am. I'm feeling 3-year plan, if not taking the agenda that we have currently, the priorities that we have currently, and swapping out comfortable place with mental health. If not, discarding our current set and going for mental health for 3 years. Like, for 3 years, can we just figure out who we are again?
Can we go 2 years? Is
Yeah.
that what you see? I mean, things are just in
Yeah.
such flux right now.
Yep. I was thinking a similar thought, just like, boy, 3 years seems really long to me right now. And I was like, well, 1 year is going to go so quickly too, you know, so that's.
It is.
But, go ahead.
Have we, I don't remember, has there been done any surveys? You know, would that be a helpful tool to, you know, to say, here's, for a 2-year plan, it's like, okay, as you're kind of saying, here's the stuff we're good at, let's keep doing it. And, you know, and what's one area of growth rather than saying, okay, here, what's all the stuff we do bad? Let's try to fix all that stuff. That never works. I mean, we should raise things up to competency, but if we're doing everything pretty well, let's keep doing what we're doing, and so I'm wondering if there's a way to have some kind of survey given. What do you like about, what do you could do it online? What do you like about and ask people to do it when they're checking out. Hey, hey, if you go to this thing, you're going to get 15% off your next purchase, or but just I don't know how easy or hard they are to set up, but just to say and keep it pretty broad. What are the things you like that the library's doing? What's maybe one thing you'd like to see the library try? And maybe what's one area where you weren't satisfied? And then that gives community input. And if we're doing a 2-year stint, then it can maybe help us focus a little more.
Yeah, I like that. Just like a
Team with Dairy Queen. They fill out this survey, go get a free ice cream cone.
Or just Survey Monkey. It doesn't have to have very many questions on it.
Yeah.
yeah. I was
Like,
trying to
who
think
do
of
you
the platform, but that's
Who do you send it to, though? That's,
well, it could just be a link on the website.
On the website, on the outside, and
and just a blurb on the radio or something, or it could be even just a paper survey at the front desk or a suggestion box. My only sometimes people can be pretty brutal too. If you like the co-op suggestion box. So we almost need a filter, I feel like, or
oh,
maybe, you have to submit a name to yeah.
we don't have to have it anonymous. We can say, please put your name in case we will have any follow-up questions with you, and that generally weeds that stuff out.
Yeah, or I was just going to suggest, instead of having it go straight to staff, if it came to the board, just so you don't have to, take it on the chin or whatever, if there are harsh. I'm not expecting that, but
I'm not going to get much
But
of that. And, it's all in the wording.
yeah.
Don't ask negative questions. Don't ask for negative feedback, because that always hurts. And it's, people then are got, well, what can I think of that's negative?
Sure.
So, short, if this interests you, Amanda, short Survey Monkey type of thing, just looking for feedback on what else we can do. Don't go very deep in the weeds with it.
Yeah. Start out with what's good. What do you like? Then we can say, okay, this is working. Yeah, let's keep doing it.
Yeah. So, just a second, let me write that down. I think it would be a poor choice to make a decision in a vacuum, right? Like we're talking about a few themes that feel really important, and I consider that to be internal feedback, internal data collection. Internally, our observations and experience in the community is very valid and necessary for a good strategic plan to go into place. Of course, we need to talk to the public too. And but what I'm hearing, if I can circle this around, I'm hearing that we feel it's time to do some kind of strategic planning process to gather some kind of feedback from the public and to put our heads together to think about how to move forward. We feel that it's important to limit the plan's terms given the turbulence of the times, and 2 to 3 years is sounding solid. The board is particularly interested in maybe focusing in on like one area of very important growth where we can just put out all of our love for this community, and So I'm feeling if I just take that and go with it, 2022 would be the planning to plan year. We wouldn't actually change anything immediately unless you want to move faster. But we could. So we would be planning to plan. Is that still the plan? Is that still the plan?
Yeah.
But for a short period of time. And it
Seems
is
workable.
it is possible that we can work with a consultant. I have a couple of names that I could reach out to and say, we're trying to do strategic planning, we're looking at a maybe 2-year plan. Would you be able to help us formulate our data collection? Because the other thing would be like having a full-on strategic planning process. Like do you want us to do this? Us and us, or do we want to have a consultant managing? How big do we want to go?
Do you feel like you can do it? When you say us, do you feel like you kind of have a vision of where it ought to go? Do you need a lot of help getting a vision?
Well, it can be an overwhelming process, and I think it's really helpful. Well, I can go both ways. I found it very helpful to have kind of outside help, but I've also found it just for us as a board to be able to brainstorm and stuff. So I wouldn't expect you to lead that charge. I would expect to have some kind of consultant, but on the other hand, sometimes the consultants are very demanding and
Interfering?
So it can kind of go both ways. It's a tricky, in my experience, it can be tricky. So, what do you have?
I think it would be worth reaching out to some consultants to say this is the framework we want to work in. We want to do a short-term plan. You know, we recognize we're in unusual times, and maybe interviewing a couple and getting a sense of who we could work well with. Because I think having that added direction and structure would be good for us.
And you said you have some names.
I have a couple of names, that I collected. We used a consultant a few years back. The board at that time felt strongly that we should choose to work with someone new, so I have a couple of new names too. Can I create some surveys and send them out to the community? Yeah, I can do that. I am concerned about the workload in addition to the projects that are already out there. But I'm willing to try. I mean, this is a good time.
And, just to be clear, I'm not intending to push anything right now. I'm just feeling like we can do more support for both staff and community, and so that's really what I want to do. And I don't know, I guess as a board I would just like to kind of revisit the strategic plan. I don't know if it needs to be, it could be next meeting, just depending on what else is on the agenda. I know Kim might be talking, and I keep wanting to get Jim.
He's challenging to get right now, I think.
Okay,
But I will reach out to him. I'll get him.
Oh, well, you don't, and again, that we don't need to push that either, but just depending, I think it's probably a nice thing just for us next meeting to review the strategic plan and
Would it be good for her to reach out to the consultants just to see if they're available?
Yeah.
To see, the parameters, so that we'll have that information the next time, and, and maybe next time I'll go a different direction, but at least we have that information to say, okay, here's what they can do, here's what we need to do, does it match up?
Yeah.
This feels important. Yeah. Feels good.
Does anyone feel differently or strongly or ignored? Okay. Well, that'll be great. Next meeting, we'll review strategic plan, see where that sits. We'll get some feedback from consultants. I think a survey would be helpful, but again, we'll just try to balance that with workload and
Got it.
see where it fits. And anything else? Little pause there. Otherwise, our next board meeting is March 24th. Holy smokes. And entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there support?
Second.
Oh, there we are. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Boy, that was a meaty meeting.
Yeah.
Ah.